Bro, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now. Close the other tabs. Put the phone down. Except this one. Because what I'm about to share with you in the next 20 minutes, this is the kind of conversation most men never get to have. Not from their fathers. Not from their boys. Not from anyone. We're talking about female psychology today. Real patterns. Real signals. Real red flags that women are literally telling you straight to your face. And most guys, they miss it completely. Not because they're dumb, but because nobody ever taught them how to listen. See, here's the thing about psychology. People think it's complicated. It's not. It's actually incredibly simple once you know what to look for. Human behavior follows patterns. Those patterns repeat. And once you can recognize them, you become untouchable in your decision-making. Today I'm breaking down 5 specific statements. 5 things that if a woman says them to you, are signals you absolutely cannot ignore. And I'm gonna break each one down so deep. The psychology behind it, the patterns behind it, what it means early versus late in a relationship, that by the time you finish this video, you will never hear these words the same way again. I'm not here to bash women. I'm not here to make you cynical. I'm here to make you clear. Because clarity is how you protect your time. Clarity is how you protect your energy. And clarity is how you eventually find something real. So if you're ready, and I mean genuinely ready to hear some truth, let's get into it. Before we get into the 5 statements, I need to lay some groundwork. Because context matters. Psychology isn't about judging people. It's about understanding them. And understanding people requires you to look past what they say on the surface and pay attention to what their words reveal underneath. Every person, man or woman, communicates their inner world through their language, their fears, their patterns, their self-image, their relationship to accountability. All of it comes out in how they speak. And here's the key insight. The timing of when someone says something matters just as much as what they say. The same sentence can mean 2 completely different things depending on when it shows up in a relationship. We're going to break that down for each statement today. Early versus late. Genuine versus strategic. Growth-oriented versus avoidance-based. You with me? Good. Let's hit the first one. You're too much for me. Okay, let's start here. Because this one stings when you hear it. Most guys immediately internalize it. They think, what's wrong with me? Why am I too much? But hold on. Let's actually unpack what this statement is communicating. When a woman says you're too much for me, she is not commenting on your worth. She's commenting on her capacity. She's saying, I don't have the emotional bandwidth to match what you bring. That's a statement about her limits, not your value. Now, here's the first scenario. She tells you this early, maybe the 2nd or 3rd time you hang out. Maybe after a few weeks of dating when things start to get real. She pulls back and says, look, you're a lot. I can feel where this is going, and honestly, I'm not sure I can keep up. Painful? Yes. But you know what that is? That's respect. That's a woman who knows herself well enough to be honest, before you're emotionally all in, before you've built a life in your head around her, before you've rearranged your schedule, introduced her to your people, emotionally committed. That's the best possible version of this statement. Honor it. Thank her for the honesty, and keep moving. But here's the second scenario. And this is where I need you to really pay attention. She doesn't say this early. She waits. 3 months go by, 6 months, maybe a year. And during that time, she's all in. She's talking about the future. She's texting you first thing in the morning. She's meeting your family. She's letting you believe, and I mean really believe, that you're building something together. And then one day, out of what feels like nowhere, she hits you with it. I think you're just too much for me. Bruh, that's not honesty anymore. That's something else entirely. Because here's what actually happened. She let you invest, fully, your time, your emotional energy, your hope, your heart. She received all of that. She accepted all of that. And then, after she'd already taken what she needed from the experience, the attention, the affirmation, the emotional security, she decided she couldn't handle you. The timing exposes it. Early honesty is self-awareness. Late revelation, after months of investment, that's a pattern you need to recognize. It doesn't mean she's evil. It doesn't mean she's consciously manipulating you. Sometimes people don't even realize they're doing this. But the impact on you is the same, regardless of her intent. So when you hear you're too much for me, your first question should always be, when is she saying this? The answer tells you everything. I'm not ready for this. This is one of the most common things you'll hear in dating, and I want to be real with you. Sometimes it's completely legitimate. People go through seasons: grief, career transitions, healing from past relationships, personal growth work. There are genuine periods in someone's life where they're not in a place to give a healthy relationship what it needs. And when a woman is self-aware enough to recognize that in herself and communicate it before she lets you get too invested, that's integrity. That's emotional maturity. What does that look like? She'll say something early. Hey, I want you to know, I'm kind of in a weird place right now. I'm still processing some stuff from my last relationship. I think you're amazing, but I don't want to pull you into something messy. That's a woman respecting your time. She's giving you the information you need to make a choice. You can decide to slow down, give her space, let things develop naturally, or you can decide this isn't what you need right now. Either way, you're making that choice with full information. That's fair. That's honest. That's how it should work. But, and I need you to sit with this, there's a whole other version of this statement that is nowhere near that. Picture this. You've been dating for 5-6 months. She's been enthusiastic. She's the one bringing up the future. Oh, we should do this in the summer. She's made you feel like you're it for her. You've had the conversations. You've talked about where this is going. You let yourself fall. Then something shifts. Maybe you tried to define the relationship. Maybe you asked where she sees this going. And that's when you hear it. Honestly, I don't think I'm ready for something serious right now. Here's the psychology of what just happened. She got what she wanted from the experience, the emotional connection, the excitement of being pursued, the security of knowing someone was there. And the moment you asked her to commit to something real, she backed out. This isn't readiness. This is emotional availability being conditional. She was available for the feeling of a relationship. She wasn't available for the responsibility of one. And understand, you didn't do anything wrong by wanting clarity. Wanting to know where you stand is not pressure. It's maturity. The pattern here is simple. Early clarity is respect. Late revelation is a red flag. If she wasn't ready, she knew that before you invested 6 months. The question you have to ask yourself is, why didn't she say so? All right. Real quick before we keep going. If this is already connecting with something you've been through, if you've heard these words from someone and something in your gut told you something was off, you were right. And this channel exists to validate that instinct and sharpen it. Hit the subscribe button right now. Seriously, tap it. Because we cover this stuff consistently. Female psychology, male psychology, relationship dynamics, how to protect your energy, how to set standards that actually work. If you want to understand people at a deeper level, this is your place. Subscribe, drop a like on this video, and let's keep going. We're not even at the halfway point yet. Everyone leaves me eventually. Okay, this one is layered, and I want to approach it with care, because there's real pain underneath this statement. But real pain doesn't exempt us from examining the pattern. When a woman says everyone leaves me eventually, she's showing you her worldview, her self-perception, the lens through which she interprets every relationship she's ever had. And that lens has a massive impact on how she's going to show up in your relationship. Here's interpretation 1. She has genuine abandonment trauma. Maybe she was left by a parent. Maybe she's been walked out on repeatedly in relationships. Maybe she's experienced loss that she hasn't fully processed. That kind of repeated experience creates a belief, almost like a core conviction, that says, I am the kind of person who gets left. And when you believe that, you act like that. You start testing your partner, pushing them away before they can leave, sabotaging the relationship right when it gets good. Because getting close feels like the setup to loss. She's not doing it to hurt you. She's doing it because in her nervous system, safety and distance are the same thing. This is real. This is documented psychology. This is called an anxious attachment pattern, rooted in abandonment wounding. And it's absolutely workable, but only if she's working on it. Here's what that looks like when she is doing the work. She'll acknowledge it. I know I have abandonment stuff. When things get serious, I sometimes pull back out of fear. I'm working on that in therapy. I just want you to know so we can navigate it together. That's a woman who is in her healing. That's someone worth being patient with, because she's taking responsibility. But, and this is where the second interpretation comes in, what about the woman who says everyone leaves me, and genuinely means it as a fact about other people, not as a reflection of her own patterns? What if she's the common denominator? What if the chaos, the drama, the emotional instability, the constant testing, that's why people leave? And instead of ever examining her own role, she reframes it. They all left. not I pushed them all away. Here's the psychological tell. A woman with genuine trauma, who's growing, will almost always acknowledge her own role in her relationship patterns. She might say, I know I can be difficult to love. I know I self-sabotage. I'm aware of it. That self-awareness is the green light. A woman who has zero language for her own role, who is always the victim in every story she tells. That's the red flag. The question to ask yourself when you hear this statement, does she have language for her own patterns, or is she always positioned as the one who was wronged? You just don't understand me. Let me start by giving this statement the credit it deserves. Because used genuinely, this can actually be an invitation. A woman who is complex, who has depth, who has a rich inner world that she's genuinely trying to share with you. Sometimes she'll feel misunderstood. She'll say, I don't think you're seeing the full picture of who I am. And that's an invitation. She's saying, go deeper. I want you to know me fully. That's beautiful. That's real intimacy being requested. And if that's what this is, your job is to lean in, ask better questions, listen more. Try to understand her perspective, without immediately jumping to fix or correct. Let her feel seen. That's the healthy version of this statement, and it's genuinely powerful when it shows up that way. But here is how it becomes a weapon. When every time you try to hold her accountable, every time you point out an inconsistency in her behavior, every time you set a standard, every time you say, hey, that didn't feel okay to me, she deflects with, you just don't understand me. What is she actually communicating in that moment? Stop questioning me. Stop expecting me to be consistent. Stop trying to hold me to anything. It's a silencing tactic. It uses the language of emotional depth to shut down legitimate conversations about behavior and accountability. And the insidious thing about it is that it makes you feel like the problem. Like if you just tried harder to understand her, everything would be fine. You try harder. You give her more grace. You give more space. You apologize for having expectations. And nothing changes. Because nothing can change when the dynamic is designed to keep you off balance. A psychologically grounded woman communicates when she's misunderstood. She clarifies. She explains. She meets your effort with her own. She wants to be known. A woman who is avoidant, defensive, or using mystery as a manipulation tool, she will never let you fully understand her. No matter how much effort you put in, she'll keep moving the goalposts. Because the moment you understand her, the power she holds through confusion disappears. So watch this one carefully. Is she using you don't understand me as an invitation or as a shield? Your gut already knows the answer. Yo, quick pause. We've got one more statement, and then I'm going to bring this all together in a way that's going to completely shift how you think about relationships. But before I do, if you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now, not later. Right now. Every video on this channel is built around helping you understand people, protect yourself, and make better decisions. The guys who are subscribed are the ones who keep leveling up. Be one of those guys. Hit subscribe. Let's finish this. Everyone wants to hurt me. This one is the heaviest of all 5, and I want to approach it with the seriousness it deserves. Women face real dangers in the world. Real threats, real violence, real betrayal. I'm not going to minimize that ever. Some women have been through things that would break most people. Sexual assault, emotional abuse, repeated betrayal by people who were supposed to protect them. That kind of trauma is real, and it creates a hypervigilance that makes total sense when you understand what she's been through. When you meet a woman like this, she has walls, she's guarded, she sees potential threats, where other people see nothing. That's not a character flaw, that's a nervous system that learned to protect itself by staying on high alert. It's a survival mechanism. I have deep respect for any woman working to heal from real trauma. That takes courage. But here's the distinction that matters, the one that determines whether you can actually build something with this person. A woman who has been genuinely hurt and is working toward healing. She will communicate about it. She'll say something like, hey, I want you to know I have some trust stuff from my past. I might get triggered sometimes when things feel uncertain. I'm in therapy, I'm working on it, but I wanted to be upfront with you. That's a woman taking ownership of her healing. She's not asking you to fix her. She's informing you so you can both navigate it consciously. That's someone you can walk alongside. But a woman who says everyone wants to hurt me, as a fixed general truth, not about her past, but about people as a whole, about you specifically, before you've done a single thing wrong. She's not healing. She's crystallizing. She's taken her pain and turned it into her identity. And here's the devastating thing about that. When someone's pain becomes their identity, healing becomes a threat. Because if she heals, she loses the framework through which she makes sense of the world. And you, no matter how kind, no matter how patient, no matter how consistent, become a suspect the moment you get close enough to matter. Because closeness, in her experience, has always been the setup to pain. You cannot love her out of this. I need you to hear that. You cannot love her out of this. No amount of proving yourself, no amount of gentleness, no amount of devotion will replace the professional support she actually needs. Therapy. Real psychological work, possibly trauma-specific treatment. You are not equipped to be her therapist. You are not supposed to be. And the men who try, they end up depleted, resentful, smaller versions of themselves. Because they've organized their entire emotional life around managing her pain, rather than living their own. The most loving and honest thing you can do is recognize what you can and cannot provide and be honest about it. All right, let's talk about what all 5 of these statements actually have in common. Because there is a single thread running through all of them. Every single one of these statements is an external attribution. You're too much. Everyone leaves. Nobody understands me. Everyone wants to hurt me. You notice that. The focus is always outward, always on other people, always on circumstances outside herself. And here's why that matters on a psychological level. A person who attributes all their pain to external factors, who never locates the source of their patterns within themselves, cannot change, not because they're incapable of growth, but because change requires ownership. You cannot change what you won't acknowledge. And if the story is always that life is happening to her, there's no doorway through which transformation can enter. Contrast that with a woman who's genuinely grounded. She talks about herself differently. She'll say things like, I know I have a tendency to shut down when I feel overwhelmed. I'm working on communicating better in those moments. Or, I noticed I got defensive earlier. That's something I'm trying to catch in myself. Or, I have some trust issues from my past. I own that. I don't want to project that onto you. That's ownership. That's someone who is engaged in the active work of becoming a better version of herself. And that kind of person? You can build something real with her. You can grow together. Because she's not outsourcing her healing to you. She's bringing her healing to the relationship. The women who say the 5 things in this video. It's not that they're bad people. It's that they're lost right now. Lost in patterns they haven't examined. Lost in pain they haven't fully processed. And being with someone who's lost when they haven't decided to find themselves yet means you'll spend your time trying to be their compass instead of following your own. You cannot navigate for 2 people. It doesn't work. Eventually, you'll lose your own direction. So here's the practical piece. What do you actually do when you hear these things? First, you listen. Not just to the words, to the pattern behind the words. Is this a one-time moment of vulnerability? Or is this a recurring theme in how she talks about herself and others? Second, you observe the timing. Is she giving you this information early, before you're emotionally invested? Or is she revealing it months in, after you've already given a significant piece of yourself? Third, you watch for ownership. When she talks about difficult things in her past, does she ever acknowledge her own role? Does she have language for her own patterns? Or is it always somebody else's fault? Fourth, and this is the big one, you make a conscious decision, not a default decision, not a decision made out of guilt or hope, or the sunk cost of time already spent. A real, clear-eyed, conscious decision. Do I accept what this person is showing me, and the relationship it will create? Or do I respect myself enough to walk away? And if you choose to walk away, do it clean. No anger, no blame, no ugly endings if you can help it. Just clarity. I see who you are right now. I respect your journey, and I'm not the right person for where you are. That's not coldness. That's maturity. That's what a man with real standards looks like in action. Here's what I want you to understand about what happens when you hold these standards. When you stop accepting the patterns we discussed today, when you genuinely, consistently walk away from situations that don't meet your standards, something shifts. Not just in your relationships, in you. You become more grounded, more certain of yourself, more at peace with who you are, because you've proven to yourself through action that you respect your own time and energy. And here's the thing about that kind of groundedness. It's magnetic. A man who knows himself, who has clear standards, who treats himself with respect. He attracts different people. People who are working on themselves, people who are honest, people who choose him from wholeness rather than needing him from emptiness. Because the truth is, the most secure, grounded, psychologically healthy women out there, they don't want a man they can manipulate. They want a man they can't manipulate. They want someone with a backbone, someone with a vision, someone who loves himself enough to walk away from what doesn't serve him. Your standards aren't going to push the right woman away. Your standards are going to attract her, but you have to be willing to hold them, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you really like her, even when letting go hurts. Real love, sustainable love, isn't built on enduring what doesn't work. It's built on two people who've both done enough work on themselves to actually meet each other, who choose each other from strength, not fear, who stay together not because they need to, but because they want to. That's what we're working toward. That's what you deserve. So let me leave you with this. If a woman tells you, "You're too much for me," listen to the timing. If she says, "I'm not ready," listen to the timing. If she says, "Everyone leaves me," listen for ownership. If she says, "You don't understand me," listen for the pattern. If she says, "Everyone wants to hurt me," listen for whether she's healing or crystallizing. These 5 statements are not sentences. They are maps. Maps of who she is right now. Maps of her relationship to herself, to accountability, to growth. You get to read the map. And you get to decide if you want to walk that road. Not with anger, not with resentment, with clarity, with self-respect, with the kind of grounded confidence that comes from a man who genuinely knows his worth. That's it. That's the message. Know your worth. Honor your standards. Protect your energy. And never ever shrink yourself for someone who isn't doing their own work. If this video shifted something for you today, if something clicked, if something you've been confused about suddenly became clear, do me a favor. Subscribe right now, hit the like button, drop a comment, and tell me which one of these 5 statements hit closest to home for you. I genuinely read every comment. And if you want to go even deeper, I've got another video lined up that goes into exactly what to look for in a woman who is ready for something real. The positive signs, the green flags, what grounded looks like in action. The link is right there. Don't sleep on it. I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and take care of yourself. Peace.